Welcome back, mystery seekers. Tonight, we're diving into the shadowy world of phantom islands, mysterious lands that appeared on maps for centuries but never actually existed. From the legendary Isle of Demons to the vanishing Antilia, these cartographers' nightmares fooled explorers, governments, and entire civilizations. What dark secrets do these impossible places hold? How did they haunt our maps for so long? Hit that like button, subscribe for more mind-bending mysteries, and let's uncover 7 lost secrets that will change everything you thought you knew about our world. Chapter 1: Maps of Impossible Worlds. In the hushed sanctum of a Venetian cartographer's workshop, circa 1520, the scratching of quill pen against vellum creates worlds that never were. The scent of oak gall ink mingles with beeswax from flickering candles, casting dancing shadows across half-finished charts where dragons swim in uncharted waters and mysterious islands float like dreams made manifest. Here, in these chambers where geography meets imagination, phantom islands are born not from malice or deliberate deception, but from the profound human need to fill empty spaces with possibility. The cartographer's hand trembles slightly as he plots coordinates whispered by a salt-weathered captain, fresh from months of dead reckoning across the trackless Atlantic. The island of Brasil rock takes shape beneath careful pen strokes, positioned somewhere west of Ireland's coast, its existence vouched for by men whose lives depend on reading wind and wave. Listen to the rhythmic scratch-scratch of the quill, a sound that echoes through centuries of map-making. Each mark carries the weight of testimony, sailors' accounts filtered through exhaustion, hope, and the desperate need to justify expensive voyages to impatient patrons. The workshop falls silent save for the distant creak of ship timbers in the harbor and the cartographer's measured breathing as he considers where to place this newest addition to his portal-on chart. The birth of phantom islands begins with the marriage of imperfect observation and sincere belief. Picture a navigator aboard a caravel, weeks into his voyage, squinting through salt spray at what appears to be land on the horizon. Without modern understanding of superior mirages, those atmospheric tricks that lift distant objects above their true position, he records coordinates in his log with absolute certainty. The floating pumice fields left by distant volcanic eruptions appear solid from miles away. Banks of clouds resting on the water's surface maintain their shape for hours, creating convincing illusions of coastlines that shimmer and beckon. Back in the cartographer's workshop, these reports arrive like prayers seeking cartographic communion. The mapmaker faces an impossible choice: dismiss the testimony of experienced navigators, or trust their word and give form to the formless. Cartographic conservatism demands the latter. Better to include a potentially false island than to omit a genuine discovery. The quill descends, and Frisland materializes in the North Atlantic, complete with detailed coastlines copied from other, real places. The marine chronometer has not yet been perfected, making longitude determination an art of educated guesswork. Celestial navigation provides latitude with reasonable accuracy, but east-west positioning remains dangerously imprecise. A reported island could be anywhere within a vast circle of uncertainty, its true location, if it exists at all, hidden behind navigational mathematics that even the most skilled practitioners struggle to master. Consider the sacred ritual of chart creation itself. Parchment must be prepared with meticulous care, its surface smoothed to receive the geographic gospels of returning voyagers. Compass bearings are plotted with instruments handcrafted by artisans whose understanding of magnetic variation remains rudimentary. The difference between magnetic north and true north shifts with location and time, introducing errors that compound across ocean crossings like whispered secrets changing shape with each retelling. In the workshop's amber glow, the cartographer's apprentice grinds pigments for illuminating sea monsters and decorative cartouches, but the phantom islands require no such ornamentation. They appear in elegant simplicity, perfect circles or crescents of possibility floating in blue-washed oceans. Their very plainness makes them credible, unmarked by the fantastic decorations that announce deliberate fancy. The copying process ensures these cartographic ghosts achieve immortality. When master cartographers create new charts, they reference existing maps, perpetuating errors with religious devotion. The rhythmic scratch of countless quills across countless workshops spreads phantom islands like a benevolent contagion, each reproduction cementing their place in maritime consciousness. Hushed whispers in map rooms speak of islands where fresh water springs eternal and exotic spices grow wild. These lands represent more than navigational errors, they embody humanity's deepest yearning for undiscovered paradises, for spaces on Earth that remain pure and untouched. The cartographer's hand pauses above his chart, quill dripping ink like tears of possibility, as he contemplates the weight of creation. The workshop settles into evening quiet, candles burning lower, their wax pooling around brass holders. Tomorrow will bring new accounts from new voyages, fresh opportunities for phantom lands to emerge from the marriage of hope and imperfect observation. Tonight, the phantom islands sleep peacefully on their parchment seas, waiting for morning light to reveal their impossible shores to those who navigate by dreams made manifest in ink. Chapter 2: The Great Deceptions. The morning light filtering through salt-stained windows illuminates charts spread across oak tables, each bearing the seeds of magnificent deceptions. These are not the gentle fabrications of mythmakers, but cartographic lies that will launch fleets, drain royal treasuries, and send sailors into the hungry embrace of empty oceans. Brasil rock haunts the Atlantic like a maritime phantom, appearing on portolan charts with devastating consistency. Positioned somewhere southwest of Ireland, this ghost island bears the promise of discovery and the weight of 3 centuries' worth of expeditions. Ship after ship sets course for coordinates that exist only in the collective delusion of European cartography, their holds packed with provisions for voyages to nowhere. The tick of marine chronometers marks time as captains study their charts by flickering lamplight, tracing routes to Brasil rock with calloused fingers. Dead reckoning calculations fill logbook margins, distance, bearing, estimated arrival. These navigational prayers ascend from cramped ship cabins, carrying the desperate hopes of men who've wagered everything on cartographic conservatism, on the persistent belief that what appears on maps must exist somewhere in the world's vast waters. Magnetic variation confounds even experienced navigators as they seek these phantom shores. Compass bearings shift unexpectedly, adding layers of confusion to already uncertain coordinates. The superior mirage phenomenon creates cruel theater on clear mornings, distant clouds transform into convincing coastlines, complete with headlands and harbors that dissolve as ships approach. Sailors swear they've glimpsed Brasil rock's shores, only to watch them evaporate like maritime hallucinations. In royal chambers across Europe, expedition proposals accumulate like autumn leaves. Brasil rock becomes the centerpiece of grand schemes, a stepping stone to Asian spice routes, a potential base for Atlantic dominance. The rustling of charts unfurling accompanies heated discussions of investment and exploration rights. Ministers lean over parchment seas, their breath fogging the carefully illuminated surfaces as they plan expeditions to harvest phantom riches. The expeditions themselves become exercises in magnificent futility. Ships disappear entirely, swallowed by storms while searching for islands that exist only in ink. Others return with tales of near discovery, Brasil rock sighted but obscured by fog, or missed by mere leagues due to contrary winds. These stories fuel further expeditions, creating a perpetual cycle of maritime deception that spans generations. Sandy Island presents an even more audacious deception, persisting on charts well into the age of improved celestial navigation. Positioned between Australia and New Caledonia, this phantom landmass appears substantial enough to support entire ecosystems. Cartographers render it with confidence, complete with coastal details that suggest thorough exploration. The reality empty ocean where charts promise solid ground transforms routine voyages into exercises in cartographic archaeology. Pumice fields contribute to these grand deceptions, creating temporary landmasses that float across Pacific waters like geological mirages. Volcanic eruptions birth these false islands, fields of lightweight stone that rise and fall with the tides, appearing solid from a distance but dissolving beneath any vessel's weight. Sailors report these encounters with perfect honesty, unaware they've witnessed oceanic theater rather than permanent geography. The workshops of master cartographers become theaters of error perpetuation. Each new chart references its predecessors, copying phantom islands with meticulous care. The scratching of quill pens across parchment accompanies this ritual of geographical multiplication. Brasil rock appears on Dutch charts because it graced Portuguese ones. Sandy Island migrates from French to British maps through pure cartographic momentum. Longitude determination remains the expedition's greatest challenge. Without accurate positioning methods, ships sail toward coordinates that shift like maritime mirages. Marine chronometers offer improvement, but their precision cannot correct the fundamental error: the islands they seek never existed. Captains adjust their compass bearings, recalculate their dead reckoning, and sail deeper into empty waters, chasing cartographic ghosts with scientific precision. The human cost of these great deceptions accumulates in ship graveyards scattered across phantom island routes. Expeditions launched toward Brasil rock vanish without trace, their crews becoming reluctant martyrs to cartographic error. The wind through rigging carries their final hopes across waters that promised discovery but delivered only the eternal rhythm of waves against empty horizons. Royal treasuries drain as expedition after expedition pursues these paper promises. The clash between maritime reality and cartographic fiction becomes a battle waged with ships and lives, each voyage a desperate attempt to reconcile the world as it appears on maps with the world as it actually exists. The great deceptions persist because admitting error means acknowledging that the magnificent age of discovery includes chapters written in pure imagination, islands born from hope and sustained by the terrible momentum of collective belief in beautiful lies. The tide of knowledge moves slowly, but it moves inevitably. By the late 18th century, improved celestial navigation and the widespread adoption of marine chronometers begin their quiet work of cartographic correction. One by one, the phantom islands that have haunted maritime charts for centuries face their final reckonings. The erasure comes not through dramatic revelation, but through the accumulation of negative evidence. Ships equipped with Harrison's chronometers sail to precise coordinates where islands should exist, only to find endless water stretching toward empty horizons. Captains record their findings in ship's logs with careful precision: longitude and latitude noted, compass bearings verified, no land sighted. These reports accumulate in admiralty offices like gentle snowfall, each one adding weight to the growing certainty that the maps lie. In London cartographer workshops, candlelight flickers across drafting tables where the slow work of subtraction begins. Master mapmakers face impossible decisions as they prepare new editions of their charts. The scratching of quill pens grows hesitant when they reach familiar phantom coordinates. Brasil rock has appeared on their family's maps for 3 centuries. Frisland anchors the North Atlantic like a trusted landmark. To remove them feels like erasing memory itself. Cartographic conservatism wars against mounting evidence. The rustling of charts unfurling fills maprooms as cartographers consult multiple sources, searching for justification to preserve their beautiful mistakes. Perhaps the islands exist but remain hidden by superior mirages. Perhaps magnetic variation has confused their positioning. Perhaps next season's expeditions will vindicate the ancient charts and restore these lost lands to reality. But the marine chronometers tick with mechanical certainty, and their precision proves inexorable. Dead reckoning gives way to accurate longitude determination. The comfortable margins of error that once sheltered phantom islands collapse under improved navigation. What seemed possible when ship positions carried uncertainty of hundreds of miles becomes impossible when positions narrow to nautical precision. The first erasures appear tentatively. Islands marked as solid land become dotted outlines, then notation marks indicating existence doubtful. Cartographers developed diplomatic language for uncertainty reported by ancient authorities or position approximate. The maps become archaeological documents, preserving the history of exploration while acknowledging the weight of contradictory evidence. In quiet ship cabins, aging navigators unfurl charts that span their lifetimes at sea. Islands they pursued in youth have vanished from newer editions, deleted by the steady accumulation of scientific method. The melancholy settles deep as the rhythm of waves against hulls reminds them that the ocean they have sailed for decades proves smaller and more ordinary than the one promised by earlier charts. The wind through rigging carries the whispered grief of reduced possibilities. The phantom islands die slow deaths, fading gradually rather than disappearing suddenly. Brasil rock shrinks on successive map editions before vanishing entirely. Frisland becomes a cartographic ghost story, mentioned in footnotes but banished from practical navigation. Sandy Island retreats into the uncertain spaces between major shipping routes, sustained only by infrequent sightings that cannot survive rigorous verification. Yet their disappearance carries profound melancholy. These islands represented more than cartographic errors, they embodied the infinite possibilities of an incompletely known world. Their presence on maps suggested that paradise might exist just beyond the next horizon, that the ocean held secrets worth discovering. As they vanish under the weight of accumulated knowledge, they take with them the comforting fiction that the world remains mysterious enough to harbor undiscovered wonders. The Great Correction continues through the 19th century as steam-powered survey vessels methodically chart every ocean. Pumice fields that once suggested volcanic islands prove temporary. Cloud formations that created phantom landmasses disperse under scientific scrutiny. The systematic application of improved navigation eliminates the comfortable uncertainties that allowed phantom islands to flourish. Modern charts emerge clean and precise, but somehow diminished. The portolan charts of earlier centuries, with their decorative islands and speculative coastlines, possessed a romance that accurate survey maps cannot match. Progress demands the sacrifice of wonder, trading beautiful impossibilities for reliable navigation. In the end, the phantom islands retreat into maritime folklore, becoming stories told in ship's quarters rather than destinations marked on working charts. Their slow erasure represents both the triumph of scientific method and the gradual reduction of world mystery. The scratching of quill pens continues in admiralty offices, but now they write only what exists, not what hope once imagined might exist in the vast spaces between known shores. Chapter 4: Cartographer's Dreams. Yet in the deepest reaches of our modern oceans, whispers persist of islands that charts have never quite captured. Even as satellite imagery claims to have mapped every reef and atoll, mariners speak in hushed tones of lands glimpsed through morning mist, coordinates that shift like dreams upon waking. The phantom islands have not vanished entirely, they have simply learned to hide more cleverly. In the remote corners of the Pacific, where trade winds carry stories older than written charts, fishing vessels occasionally report strange sightings. An island appears on the horizon during the peculiar light of dawn, complete with what seems like vegetation and rocky shores. Dead reckoning places it precisely where deep water should stretch unbroken to the horizon. When the sun climbs higher and burns away the atmospheric mysteries, nothing remains but endless ocean and the nagging certainty that something impossible was witnessed. These modern phantom islands emerge from the same fundamental human longing that populated medieval maps with speculative paradises. The ocean remains vast enough to harbor secrets, mysterious enough to nurture hope that undiscovered places still exist beyond familiar shipping lanes. Superior mirages continue their ancient deception, bending light across curved horizons to project distant lands where none exist, creating perfect illusions that satisfy our deepest wishes for remaining mystery. The cartographer's quill pen moves more cautiously now across contemporary charts, guided by instruments that would astonish navigators of earlier centuries. Marine chronometers tick with mechanical precision, celestial navigation has been refined to mathematical certainty, and magnetic variation is calculated with extraordinary accuracy. Yet still the pen hesitates occasionally, hovering over blank spaces where reports suggest something might exist, something that defies easy categorization or confident denial. In these moments, the ancient tension between scientific rigor and human hope reasserts itself. The modern cartographer faces the same fundamental choice that confronted predecessors centuries ago, whether to include the uncertain, the reported but unconfirmed, the tantalizing possibility that challenges existing knowledge. Cartographic conservatism still whispers its seductive arguments, better to include what might exist than to dismiss what could be genuine discovery. The poetry of uncharted waters lies not in vast blank spaces, which satellites have largely eliminated, but in the subtle uncertainties that precision instruments cannot entirely resolve. Pumice fields still drift across remote ocean areas, creating temporary islands that exist for weeks before dispersing. Underwater volcanic activity occasionally births new land that rises briefly above the waves before subsiding back into oceanic memory. These transient phenomena remind us that the boundary between land and sea remains more fluid than our fixed charts suggest. The rhythm of waves against unknown shores continues to pulse through maritime dreams, even as those shores become increasingly improbable. Ships' quarters still echo with stories of glimpsed coastlines that exist only in the liminal space between sleep and waking, between hope and knowledge. These tales serve the same psychological function as the phantom islands of earlier centuries. They preserve the possibility that wonder still exists in a world increasingly mapped and measured. The gentle scratching of navigation instruments plotting courses across familiar waters carries undertones of deeper longing. Each compass bearing points toward known destinations, but the heart continues to hope for unexpected discoveries. The marine chronometer measures time with relentless precision, yet cannot quantify the moments when the horizon seems to promise more than it contains. In the quiet hours before dawn, when the ocean exists in that mysterious state between darkness and light, phantom islands achieve their most convincing reality. The eye searches the horizon and finds shapes that daylight will reveal as cloud formations or atmospheric distortions. Yet in those precious moments of uncertainty, the ancient dreams of cartographers live again, dreams of lands that exist because we need them to exist, because the human spirit requires mystery as surely as it requires truth. The last phantom islands persist not on paper charts but in the deeper cartography of human longing. They inhabit the spaces between what we know and what we hope, between what instruments measure and what hearts imagine. As long as vast waters stretch beyond the horizon, as long as morning mist can transform the familiar into the magical, these islands will continue their eternal game of revelation and concealment. The ocean keeps its secrets still, whispering promises of undiscovered shores to those who listen carefully to the wind through rigging, to the eternal conversation between waves and dreams that no amount of precise navigation can entirely silence.